So I know that planning is a massive part of your job. What is it like for you as a person with ADHD to have to lesson plan? What are the challenges for you?
So honestly, just even figuring out how I'm gonna like go about it. Like, am I gonna do it like on paper? Am I gonna do it on the computer? Every single school year when I was a student and now when I'm a teacher, I try to convince myself that I am a planner person. I will keep using it after a week. Never, never,
That's a
ever,
fantasy.
ever.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yet I still buy them.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I've started buying undated planners.
Oh,
So
smart.
so now that whenever that like little idea comes back to try to convince myself I'm a planner person again, I don't have to go out and buy a new one. Yeah. So I've realized,
Just
yeah,
let me interrupt you. You just made such a good point though. Figuring out like planning to plan.
yes.
Like that's the step before the step
Hmm.
is even difficult. And I absolutely think that is connected to ADHD and deficient executive functioning and it just not being clear and easy and systematic in our brain. And so like even planning how to plan feels hard.
Yeah. And then on top of all that, every single class I teach is different. The kids are at a different place. Their learning styles are different. Don't get me wrong, like, I love my job.
Yeah.
My job's great, but it is really, really exhausting sometimes to
Yeah.
have to, figure that out. Because, I want to be able to best accommodate all of my students in
Yes.
any way that I can.
Yeah.
But sometimes it just wrecks my brain to try to
Mm.
figure out how I can do this to the best of my
Mhm.
ability. Because also, I'm a really huge perfectionist when it comes to my lessons and my planning.
What does that mean to you to be a perfectionist? When you say that, like, could you explain what that even means for you?
So there are times where, in my eyes, the only way a lesson is good enough is if it's this long, elaborate, beautiful looking thing
Sure.
with a lot of different bells and whistles going on
Sure.
to it, because that's what I've seen, that's what I've grown up with,
Sure.
that's all I know. And trust me, I've tried Canva, I've tried all the fancy Google Slide stuff. That it's hard.
It's hard.
And then, I get frustrated in 20 minutes and I'm like, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I get mad at myself because I want it to be something that I'm proud of. Because in my
Mm.
mind, like, I can't be proud of it if it's not like something that I've spent hours putting into. Because a lot of teachers, I mean, we've been getting better about this, like, from what I've seen about staying after contract hours for so long
Yeah.
just to get every single little thing done.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I've been getting to the habit of once it hits 3:30, I am out of that door.
Good girl.
Yes.
Good girl.
But then yeah, so that was a problem that I had at the like beginning
Sure.
of my teaching career, but it's been getting better because I've realized that using pre-made stuff is fine. It Yeah, it's fine. Using stuff that I get from other people is
Yes.
fine. Using your resources, oh my goodness. For so
Yes.
long, I'm like, nope, it has to be everything I do on my own.
Hmm.
No,
No.
use your resources. It's
Yes.
helped so much. It saved me so much time.
How did you make that transition to overcome your perfectionistic tendencies? Was it just kind of realizing that you were being perfectionistic about it? Because you're bringing up such a good point. I do think that perfectionism is very closely tied to our deficiency in planning. Like, and so we want it to be the perfect plan and we
Mhm.
want it to be the plan that's gonna make everything amazing, and then when
Uh-huh.
it's not, or if we sense that, like, I don't know if I can do it, then we just either don't plan or like, it all kind of
Yeah.
falls apart. So
S
how did you notice that? Or whatever. I could tell that you were gonna say something, so I don't wanna interrupt
No, no,
you.
you're good, you're good. Now I lost my train of thought.
That's my bad.
You are all
This is
good.
just 2 ADHDers sitting on a pod trying to be cool. Did you know that most ADHDers are perfectionists? In fact, Dr. Russell Ramsey with his team at UPenn found that perfectionism is the most common thought distortion for adults with ADHD. Isn't that shocking? I mean, of all of the wild thoughts that we struggle with, perfectionism is the most common for ADHDers. Now, you might be thinking, how is it possible that I'm a perfectionist? I mean, I'm a mess and I do absolutely nothing perfectly. But what Ramsey found in his research and what I've seen in my experience coaching thousands of adults with ADHD is that the desire to get things right and the fear of failure lead to avoidance, procrastination, and paralysis. And I know as someone with ADHD, you struggle with avoidance, procrastination, and paralysis. So ADHDer, I've put together a 4-part course for you for free that will help you to understand your perfectionistic tendencies and overcome them in an ADHD-friendly way so that you can get shit done. I mean, that's what we all want, right? So click the link in the episode description for this totally free course. It's a 4-part video series that I've already taken my ADHD clients through. So it's tested, we know it works, and it doesn't suck. We have a great time. So click the link in the description to check it out. Okay, so
Perfectionism.
and
my lesson
planning.
planning.
Yeah, like you seem to notice that you're doing it.
Yeah, because there are some times where I'm like, I can't even start making the actual like materials yet because I don't have the outline,
The perfect
the
outline.
perfect outline of my lesson. But I eventually realized that I can't let my job take over my life. And I was doing that for
Wow.
a while. And
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I realized this so early into my career
Yeah.
because I know teacher burnout is a very, very, very big thing that a lot of people are experiencing for a lot of different reasons. So
Yeah.
I'm really, really working on
Mm.
not getting to that point. And I think this just doing little things like this, letting myself use those pre-made resources because it's more about how I am delivering the lesson and how I'm interacting with the kids and less about like what is actually up on the board. Hmm.
Yes. So has that been a lesson in self-trust as well?
A little bit actually,
Mm.
because I mean, it's taken a lot of time, but through like focus and all the other coaching I've done, I've been able to develop like a bank of evidence that these are the reasons why I am a good teacher. These are the reasons why I am good at what I do.
Yes.
My students and I get along really, really well. I can tell that they're learning things. Like it's
Yeah.
evident in like their grades and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd say those two things are what matter the most. Yeah.
Mhm.
And not about what I have up there because
Yes.
I can even have nothing up there and still put on a pretty damn good lesson. Mhm,
Yes, that's so good.
mhm.
I think that when we ADHDers allow ourselves to just lean into our strengths and believe in ourselves, like that's so cliche. Sorry, I hate the way that sounded. Believe in yourself. But believe in our ability to like perform and improvise and just on the spot do it. When we can really, really capitalize on that strength, so much of the drama behind the scenes and the planning behind the scenes, we can just like take a deep breath and let that go.
Yeah, and growing up, I actually did a whole lot of, like, acting and theater and all that kinda stuff too, so I'm like, "Perfect, this is a perfect way to tie all that in."
Yes.
And that wasn't even a connection that I made until, like, again, being in focused, that
Mm.
I was, like, doing, like, all of these, like, skills that can help me in my career, like,
Yeah.
way earlier in my life than I was thinking.
Yeah, because a teacher is a performer.
Oh, definitely. There are so many times where I have to, like, think on my feet,
Yeah.
especially, like, when the internet is just
Yes, of
not
course.
c
Or nobody speaking
e
English.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh my
because yeah, I
gosh.
use it too much, but thankfully, I the skill of being able to think on my feet as I get more tools in my arsenal, it's
Yeah.
been something that's been able to improve.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You talked about how depleting it is to problem solve constantly. And
Mhm.
I think a lot of professionals will relate to that a lot. But then also, like, I think of moms of little kids. Like,
Mhm.
I just remember, obviously, I've never been a teacher, but when I had 3 little kids who couldn't take care of themselves
Mhm.
and looked to me to, like, solve every problem that they
Mhm.
had, um, I've never been more depleted than in that season of my
I
life.
bet.
Oh my gosh. And I feel like to a certain extent that is very similar to teaching where people are just like you're responsible for these people
Mhm.
and they come to you for all of their questions, concerns and like my nose is bleeding or like my head is itchy and I don't know what to do about like all of that.
Oh, there's one kid without fail every single week just nosebleed.
Nosebleed.
Every single week
He's
I
a
see her.
bleeder.
I know. Like, I find it a little ironic that this is happening with
That's
me every single time.
so funny.
Yes.
You know,
The kids are funny.
my one of my 3 boys was also a bleeder, a nosebleeder, and then he would have a sensory freak out about it. So
That
it
makes
wasn't
sense.
just a nosebleed, it was a nosebleed
And
plus a temper tantrum meltdown.
makes sense.
And my goodness, it's just so like in those moments, right? You have a nosebleed kiddo, you have a classroom full of other kids, or I have my other like 2 kids at home, and it's like problem solving in those moments and the depletion that it
Yes.
takes from your sweet little ADHD brain's capacity.
Mhm.
What does it feel like at the end of the day?
When I get home, I just wanna go upstairs and crawl into bed and
Yeah.
just become a log for the next I don't even know
Yes.
how many hours. This job has turned me into a grandma.
Yeah.
I am in bed by, like, 9 o'clock most nights, sometimes even earlier depending on how the day is, and also, I teach the younger grades, like, towards the end
Of
of
the
the
week?
day
Oh, of the
end of the
day, I see.
day, yes. So that's usually where I find myself struggling the most,
Mm.
and there have been times, and I'm not proud of it, where I've been just depleted and overstimulated to the point of snapping at them.
Okay.
That's happened more times than I would like to admit,
Okay.
and the guilt that I feel
Oh.
afterwards, because I don't want the kids to be responsible for my feelings, you know?
Ooh, that's powerful.
Yeah.